What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Robert Linkle with trainingtheolderadult.com. I want to talk to you today about foot care. Now, I find myself having this discussion over and over again with clients, with friends, with colleagues, our affiliates, our TOA affiliates out there. We have over 10 TOA affiliates now nationwide. We have one coming in Canada. Very excited about that. But I find myself having this conversation over and over again. And so I figured it's due time to make a video about this. Let's talk about it a little bit. I want to talk about good foot care. I am a foot fanatic. I don't have a foot fetish. That's very different. I'm a foot fanatic in that I need to take good care of my feet, knowing what they could possibly become as we get older, okay? And the foot is really neglected for some reason. I will not throw out names, but I have family members whose feet are in very, very, very poor health. And I think a lot of that has to do with how well we take care of our feet. Not only to just go with our genetics and some other health and diseases that can come in to play a picture, but also just our daily care of it. So when we kind of look into this here, I've got multiple different articles that I want to show you. I also want to look at this from a medical standpoint and then from a female and a male version, like where are the articles and where are the experts suggesting based on what sex you are, how you should take care of your feet. And then I also want to look all the way down to how to prevent one of the more severe foot injuries, infection, and gout. Okay, so we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit here as we go. All right, so number one, tip for healthy feet. They talk quite a bit about how many steps everybody gets in per day. The average person, about 5,000 steps or 2.5 miles, somewhere around there. Basic care for your feet. You need to check your feet daily for cuts, sores, swelling, and any infected areas or toenails that are having any issues. Make sure you give them a good cleaning in warm water and avoid soaking them because that may dry them out. Now, that was a very common answer put on all of these articles as we go across is, number one, when you're moisturizing your feet, try not to moisturize between your toes, just around the top and the bottom of the foot, because between the toes, you don't want moisture to get caught in there. You want to keep that area dry so you avoid infection, okay? So they talk a bit about that. Wearing tight-fitting shoes. I'm sorry to say this, but wearing your high heels and or high wedges where your toes are being forced and shoved into a point and your foot's being smashed, though your calves look beautiful and scrumptious, it is not a very good thing for your foot. It's destroying your feet. It's damaging your feet. It's hurting your foot. It's hurting your back. It's tearing up your knees. It's hurting your hips. It's probably not a very good thing for you to do, other than the fact that it makes you a little bit taller and it makes your legs look nice, I guess, is why we're wearing them in the first place. We, I mean collectively we, not me. I only wear mine on the weekends. Anyway, you got to be careful with the shoes you're wearing. Even just regular sneakers and normal shoes, if they're too tight, if you're shoving the box of your foot into a smaller box of the shoe, you're going to cause damage to your feet. You're going to create callus or bunions or some other damaging issues. That means your foot's being smushed and it doesn't like it, okay? Flip-flops. This is one I'm a little touchy on because there are some very good flip-flops out there. There's some really good flip-flops where there's one company, the name escapes me every time I talk about this, but they send you a box that's like 20 inches and you open it and there's a foot pad for each one and you stand on these and it molds your foot. It takes a copy of the mold of your foot and then you mail that back to them and they build the inside of your sandal to the mold of your foot. So cool, okay? Now, outside of that, let me grab mine here. This is, what are these guys called? The one with the Maui fish hook on it. That's the one that I wear. I really like these. Alakai, maybe something like that. I don't know. I think those are great. They come a little bit squishy as well, and they do mold. You could see kind of my foot and my toe placements. But the point is they're better sandals. These are higher quality sandals. I pay like $100 for those sandals, right? Like you buy a higher quality sandal if the sandal is important to you. So make sure you're taking your time. This is an investment. If you want to have a good pair of sandals, spend a little bit more money and have them. But I think they're right in that you need some arch support. Again, if you have high arches, if you have flat feet, you could probably get away with this. The problem with the flat foot and then the exposure, air, and the damage that can be done to the foot by wearing flip-flops all the time is you start to get calluses, etc. So That's going to happen for anybody who wears them a lot. Just discussing this out loud. Look at the idea of how often you're wearing them and how much exposure you're giving your foot. If you're not moisturizing it and taking care of them, like we're going to talk about, you're probably going to have some problems. Rotate your shoes so you're not wearing the same pair every day. I think that's probably not a bad idea, okay? If you have a job where you're wearing different outfits, like different colored suits and things like that, then you're probably going to have different shoes that you wear. Mine, however, I have the exact same pair of shoes that I wear every day, but my shoes fit me very well, and these are not the shoes that I lift in, okay? So I have, and I think I talked about this the other day a little bit, I have four different shoes. I have my rucking boot, okay, which is Ultra Lone Peak or something like that. It's a really nice boot. I only wear it to go rucking in. I have the No Bull cross trainer. This is my weightlifting shoe with this big block of rubber on the bottom here to support my foot and not collapse. And then I have my regular Ultras that I'm wearing right now. These are like my little trail walking shoes that I have. These are the ones I wear in here while I'm training. And then I have that sandal that I just showed you. So collectively, I have four different pairs of shoes, 3 shoes and a pair of sandals that I rotate based on what I'm wearing them for, what the need is. But what my point is that I don't intermix and cross them. I don't run in these guys or ruck in these. I only lift in them. I don't lift in my rucking shoes because it will flatten them, right? The whole idea is pick a shoe that fits the right appropriate environment. And if this is my environment every day, then that's the shoe that I want to wear for this. But if you have the opportunity, different color shoes, this and that, just make sure collectively the shoe is going to be a big fit and a good fit for you. And this one came up on everyone, trim your toenails. Now they talk a lot about trimming them straight across, not curving them too much. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because I think you can curve the toenail. When I cut mine flat, the edges end up stabbing into the other toes. I don't really find that to be all that comfortable. Now, I do have skinny toes, so maybe that's the problem, is that the pointy edge of the nail hangs over my toe. But if you have bigger toes, maybe that's not an issue. I don't know. Okay, again, not a foot fetish guy. I just have a high priority on taking care of my feet. So I trim my nails where I leave a little bit. Okay, you've got the part of the nail, right? You can see on my fingernails, I've got a little bit of white, just a tiny, tiny little bit of white on the very end of my nail. I try to leave just a little bit all the way around to the end, okay? Rather than cutting it flat below the white and then you have these 2 points on either side. So I differ, I guess I suggest a little bit different there. However, I've been doing this for decades and my toes are nice and very clean and taken care of and I don't have any issues. So I think it's probably a good thing for you to do. Okay, corns and calluses. Basically, these are thick chunks of skin that are developing because something in your shoe and your foot is not right. You're smashing your foot or you don't have enough arch or your foot's shifting and moving around. It's too big of a shoe. And so you're developing blisters, calluses, corns, etc. The corns occur because your foot's being smashed or pushed into shoes. We see corns develop specifically and more, I guess I would say, in shoes that are very narrow and pointed. So this is going to be a little bit more of the ladies wearing the high heels or the gentlemen wearing the dress shoes that come to the point. You're definitely going to get these often. Unfortunately, I have trained some business women who wear high heels for 20 or 30 years and their feet are messed up, man. Like bad, where I'm doing table sessions and I'm like, oh man, like they want me to spend like a half an hour just scraping, working on their feet, massaging their feet because their feet are messed up. Like they've really done some damage, okay? So you got to take care of your feet, people. That's what I'm saying. Like you only got 2 of them and they're carrying you around through this world. So take a little bit of time. I'll get into my routine. I'm jumping the shark here a little bit, but you got to take care of your feet. The corns and the calluses, number 1, they're not pretty. Number 2, they hurt when they start to get damaged and or if they get really, really infected, then you're in danger. But number 3, on a more personal, emotional side, who wants to cuddle up with somebody who's got, knives hanging off the back of their foot? Like we've had some situations, Keegan and I, especially if we're recovering from a surgery where we can't reach our feet, okay? Where our feet get dangerously sharp. Like they are uncomfortable for your partner to touch and we're like, stay on your side. And I'm putting pillows down in between our feet because I don't want our feet to touch. It can be bad. And that's where you need a good partner who'll come in there and help take care of your feet, okay? So you got to take care of your feet. Good shoes, you're doing your sports, etc. Take and pay attention, take notice to your feet as you go through this. Okay. Here was my search for when I put in foot care for women. This one came through on the Radiance by WebMD. This was specifically targeted for females. All the ads were everything. They talked about taking care of your feet. Number one, smooth it out. Make the habit of using the pumice stone, smoothing your feet, or some type of device where you can file. And I agree. I think that's a great one. Moisturizing. Again, they talk about moisturizing the ball of the foot, the heel, the top of the foot, the bottom of the foot, but not in between the toes. Okay, so they don't want you to put anything in there that's going to make things be trapping moisture in there necessarily, unless you're going to let your feet like air out in between. I do moisturize between my toes at night, and then I let my feet air out while we lay in bed and we watch NCIS or Major Crimes or whatever show we're watching. I'm twiddling my toes and I'm allowing my toes. For real, I do this every single night. It's a routine that I have. I take care of my feet. It's a priority. Okay. Fighting the fungus. You got to look at your toenails. If you see anything that is not clear, meaning like if there's anything that's yellow, anything that's black, bad news, people. If you see yellow anywhere around your toenails, you've got a fungus in your feet. You got to fix that stuff quick because it's not going to get better on its own. Okay. And this isn't the old, trick of just, do the old number 1 on your feet and that'll fix it. That's not the case. That's not going to fix it. That's an old wives' tale, and that does not work. You're going to need some help. So if you see something that's yellow and or leaning towards brown and then eventually black, bad news, gang. You got to get your feet looked at and get some medicine on that stuff because it's going to go downhill quick. They give you some suggestions and some other things up on there. Sunscreen on your feet. Okay, if you're going to be outside, don't want to burn the top of your feet. This is sensitive skin that is not exposed to the elements of the sun all that often. So if you're going to go outside, especially if it's every rare once in a while, or if you're going to do this on a regular basis, throw some sunscreen on your feet. And number 5, support. Again, looking at the flat foot or the high arched foot, having enough support in your foot. What you don't want to do is have a high arch and force your foot into a flat sandal or a chuck type shoe where there's no support. And now every step you take, your foot's forced to flattening. The transverse arch in your foot or plantar fascial tendons that are running down will start to get damage done to them. It'll start to hurt your foot. You can break bones. You can pull ligaments. You can tear ligaments, tear tendons. You can have all kinds of damage done. And if you break a bone or tear a ligament in your foot, life is going to be miserable. It's not fun. Trust me. Okay. Now, look. Oh, and number 6, don't forget your toenails. Take care of your toenails. Get pedicures, etc. Of course. Okay. Now we look at, my search was foot care for men. Okay. And there are 5 healthy tips here. This is with Piedmont. I don't know how to say that. You can figure it out. Okay. Change your socks daily. I love it that when it's the ladies, it's like get a pedicure, moisturize your feet. Guys, don't be gross, right? It's just right away. Hey, smelly, change your shoes, change your socks every day, right? Like just don't wear the same pair of shoes. Don't fold them inside out the next day and be like, good enough. Come on, man. Yes, you want cotton and or the wool fibered socks, especially if you're going to do any kind of rucking or you're wearing boots, anything like that. The wool socks work great. I have a combo of cotton, wool, and spandex, and my socks are dope. They're made from, what's the company? I get a little bracelet from them every time. It's very cool. The socks come with a little bracelet wrapped around it, and my kids will wear them on there. I'll put the link in the thing. It's like, come on. Damn it. I'm spacing. Anyway, I can see the logo. It's like a little smiling face with a cup of coffee or something like that. Anyhow, it'll come to me or I'll put it in the link. All right. So change your socks daily. You're going to get sweaty, especially if you're doing workouts. Okay. So I get up in the morning. I get ready to do my workouts here. I have a fresh pair of socks that I put on for my workout, right? When I get done, I go and shower. I get cleaned up. I have a fresh pair of socks that I put on. I just sweat in these. I don't want to put my clean feet back into sweaty socks. Okay. Done for the day. I get done working. 5, 6 o'clock, the day is over with. I go and shower again. I get out. I put on just kidding. I don't put a 3rd pair of socks. I just put on my sandals and or slippers. For me, it's sandals because I have an arch damaged foot that I need support on at all times. So I wear my sandals around the house. Okay. So change your socks, take care of your feet, be good about it. Number 2, Another one, you're smelly. Hey, don't just wash your feet. Wash your feet with soap. Come on, we got to specifically say soap and water because guys just stand there in the shower. Just like my 9-year-old just stands in there and I'm like, are you cleaning? You're like, of course I'm cleaning. And then they come out and you're like, why do you still stink? Why do you still smell? Right? What's the problem? They just stand there in the water. Just because your feet are in the water doesn't mean they're getting clean, dude. You have to scrub your feet. You have to wash your feet. It is another part of your body. If my body, my head is covered in sweat and nastiness, and I just stand in the water, yeah, some stuff will wash off, but the things that I need to scrub off of my body are still there. The water isn't a miracle worker. That's what the soap is for. So scrub your feet. Put the soap around your feet, in between your toes, on your heels, under the arches. Scrub your feet. You got to scrub your shins too, because all the oils that are excreting out of your body run down, people. And what's at the bottom of your body? It's your feet, baby. You got to clean your feet. That is my point. Clean your feet. Okay. Next one, going on my tangents here. All right, thoroughly dry your feet. You don't want to take semi-moist feet and just shove them into your socks. Now you're gonna have moisture trapped in there, especially if you're wearing cotton or the wool like we talked about. Cut your toenails, here we go, straight across again, or leave a little bit of white, okay? We talked about that. And then our last one for the gentlemen, don't hack at your feet to solve the problem. How many times have we seen this, okay? Hangnail, we got an issue here and there. They just grab the clippers and the little slicer and just start chopping away. And next thing you know, you have a gaping wound on your foot. And what's going to happen to that gaping wound? It's going to get infected, okay? So you got to take care of your feet in terms of if you have an issue here, use the appropriate tools. And I'm going to show you all the appropriate tools here in just a moment that we use when we go through, take care of your feet, okay? Getting the theme here for what we're talking about today. All right, last little bit. Looking at infections in the feet, infections are going to be occurred based on mostly cleanliness. If you get a cut on the callus or a corn or any kind of issue, if you get blisters, anything like that, cleaning it regularly, letting it dry out thoroughly, keeping the parts of your foot that need to be moisturized, the parts that need to be dry. Blisters, in my experience, it's best not to pop them, to let them dry out on their own. If they do pop, being able to cover them at times when they need to be covered, meaning when you're wearing shoes, and then times that you are not, if you are able to walk around in sandals and or laying in bed, this and that, allow them to dry out because that dry out process does help. Again, this is my personal experience. There are some philosophies that say keep it covered the whole time and let it heal up. Some people like to use something like a Neosporin. Other people do not. I personally do like to use Neosporin. I think it helps a lot to help fight against the infections. Now, do you want to have a cut on your foot, put Neosporin on it, and then wrap it and trap it all in there? Not necessarily. It's a good thing to put Neosporin on there, maybe loosely wrap it with some cotton or some gauze and just let it do its job. But again, you do want to let things breathe, let some airflow get in there so all the moisture doesn't get trapped and then you just have this wetness stuck in there, okay? Now, when we look specifically into something like gout, gout is a disease that happens to the body based typically, now there are some genetic connections to this, but the bigger part of it is what we're putting into our body, okay? If you're eating a lot of acidic foods or high sugary foods, gout is something that can happen on a regular basis. And without knowing the greatest details of what's going on, there's swelling that occurs in the foot, there's some crystallization that goes on in the foot, and it can make it very difficult, very painful to move the joints, articulate the joints, and the swelling in there can be very uncomfortable simply to touch, okay? So a couple strategies they talk about with gout. Some of the options are to look at some medications, and on the other side of it, not only to take some medications, but look at what else you're putting into your body. Alcohol, sugar, high acidity foods, etc. Try to remove those things because those are all triggers that will basically lead to flare-ups, okay? Flare-ups, or as they call it, gout attacks, which is where you have a moment where everything's fine and the next minute you're screaming in agony because you had this massive flare-up of a gout attack that just hurt very, very badly. Very good research here to support that drinking cherry juice, and this is real cherry juice, not from a well, they do talk about juice from concentrate, but you have to have some real cherry juice in there. It can't be cherry juice flavored. You actually have to have it in there. Either, freshly juiced or from concentrate is fine. People that were taking 15 milliliters daily, 4 to 6 months, showed a 50% reduction in their gout attacks, and then some had up to a 92% positive let's see, where was it? Also seen a number of acute gout attacks for 92% of treated patients, meaning 92% of them saw improvements based on simply drinking cherry juice on a regular basis, okay? So knowing that cherry juice is able to work its magic, which from my understanding, it helps with the acidity and withdrawing some of the acidity in there, and then the other antioxidants and such found in it. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that pomegranate juice works in a very similar fashion. So if you prefer that, I think those are very, very similar. I'm just guessing on that, not guessing, but I'm recalling that I think that's a thing, but don't quote me. Okay, herbs and such that could help with gout. Okay, they've listed a couple. Ginger was one of the big ones. Has a very strong anti-inflammatory reaction to the joints. Also helps with arthritis, but has a very positive effect with gout. They think in this article they also listed a couple of others that you can look into as well. This was the really key part, and this. Two of my current clients I'm working with right now are both having gout attacks at this moment. And this is something that we talked about with one, and I'm sending this video to the other. Talk about these contrasted foot baths, okay? So now here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna get like two 5-gallon buckets, or you can get two big, mixing bowls, something like that, two cooking pots, something along those lines. And then the one, you're going to put hot water in there between 102 and 106 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? That's for the first submersion of your feet into that water. And you're gonna hold it in there for 3 minutes. So it's not so scalding hot that you can't keep your feet in there, but it's warm enough where it's gonna have some good treatment to your feet. Now, this is assuming, number one, that you're having gout, maybe even a flare-up, okay? This is a way to treat a current flare-up, a gout attack, if you will, to have an immediate effect to this, okay? But if you're just having gout in general, this can also be a thing that helps on a daily basis, will help you heal from this process, along with everything else we talked about, doing this as well, okay? But specifically, if you're having a gout attack, rig this up, and this is a good thing that will help as well, okay? So your feet do not have open sores on them or cuts on them, because again, submerging in the water may not be the best. It can cause other infections, etc. So let's just assume your feet are good. You just have gout, okay? So between 102, 106 degrees Fahrenheit, hot water, you submerge your feet, 3 minutes, okay? 3 minutes, you soak them in there. When you're done, you have another one filled about a third of the way up with ice water, okay? And you're gonna take both feet out and submerge in the other. What if I only have gout in one foot, Rob? Do I need to put both in the water? Yes, you do, because 60% of the time, if you have gout or an injury on one side of your body, you're gonna have it on the other side. So it's better to treat them both and hope that things work out better in the end than treat one and have the issue come up on the other side, okay? So both feet go in the hot bucket, 102, 106 degrees, 3 minutes, then bring them up, put them down in the other bucket for 30 seconds, okay? Now we're gonna continue going back to the hot water, and then we're gonna go back to the cold water, and you're gonna do that cycle 3 times. 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold, and ideally, you can make each one a little hotter and a little colder, add a little more ice, add a little more hot water, and kind of raise those temperatures a little bit with each one. Don't go over 106 degrees. You don't want to start burning your skin, but kind of work in that range. At least keep it hot. And that's where they're saying, yeah, you're going to need like a little thermostat, be able to put in the water there and check it out. But 3 times through, soak the feet, 3 minutes, hot, 30 seconds cold, 3 times through. There's a good plunge. When you're all done, splash, splash, splash in the cold, your feet should feel pretty good and nice. All right, so now let's dive into the last little bit, my routine that I do on a weekly basis, people, on a weekly basis. Now, I wish I could say something like, hey, every Friday night or whenever it is. I think it's probably more like Sunday night. I'm prepping my clothes for the week. Yes, I am anal and I have these issues where I literally lay out my clothes for my ruck, for my workout, for my day of work, and for my nighttime. I lay them all out ahead of time. I know it's obnoxious, but that's how I roll. Okay, so the first thing I do is I go through and I trim my nails. That's the first thing I look at. I have this cool little kit that I got that's got a little bit of everything in there, okay? So I have the regular trimmer, and I use this guy to go through and just trim my nails, take care of my nails. Now it also has a vertical clipper, which is awesome for using the side of your nails. So either your fingernails or your feet. Again, I sit on the bed and I prop one foot up so I don't have to hold my leg up the whole time. I also don't want to be bent over working on the floor, because then I'm rounding my back. So I'm bringing my foot up to me on the bed, okay, while I work on it. But instead of trying to take a horizontal clipper, right, and cut the horizontal parts of my hand, I can take the vertical clippers, and I can do the vertical clips on my fingers and on my nails, my toenails. So you got some vertical clippers to go on this side, you got some horizontal clippers to go on that side. We've got 2 sets of clippers to clip whatever needs to be clipped, okay? Now you also have one of these little guys, which is the cuticle cutter, right? And you're going to use that little cuticle cutter to, you guessed it, cut your cuticles. And we're going to go across and just take off those little guys. Now before that, you can use the little cuticle butter or whatever they call these things. You're going to go around and push. Again, I'm demoing on my hands, but you'll get the idea, right? And I do the same thing to my feet. You butt up there and you try to get all the little bits of skin and all that extra stuff, pump it all up out of the way, get it all up on one end, and then you use your cuticle cutter and you come along and you trim that little bit of cuticle off. I can't believe I'm doing a how-to here on this, and then when you're done, there you go, you've got a nicely trimmed cuticle. And if you do that with your hands and your feet, you got some nice looking hands and feet, and people don't think you're gross, okay, because you're taking care of your shit. So we're gonna go through and we're gonna do that on all of our hands, all of our fingers, and all of our feet. After that, we're still not lotioning yet. We have trimmed our nails, we have trimmed our cuticles. Then you're gonna grit something like this, a little grit, a little cheese grater type of guy that you can take your hands, again, without your rings on, take your hands and you have all your little calluses here, right? And you just give it a little. That's all I need. I just need to chew off a little bit of the callus so my calluses aren't rough. So when I hold hands with my missus, when I work with people on the tables here, I'm not scraping my calluses all over them, okay? So you're gonna do that just a little bit on your hands, and then on your feet, we're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna go around your heels, you're gonna go on the side of the big toe, right? That's usually where a lot of the callus will come, or the corns. You're gonna go on the very top side of the big toe and get on that guy, maybe on the arch of the foot. You're just gonna kind of work around in any of the dead skin, any of the stuff that's not like your normal kind of pinkish looking colored skin, or whatever color your feet are, that any of the like dead looking skin, you want to just scrape that off. Now, words of caution. You don't want to, this thing works really well, and you don't want to like, I'm getting everything, and you start going into layers of skin. You want to just take off the dead stuff, okay? Another word of the wise, all of this is going to end up on the floor. I know it's gross, but put yourself down a little towel. I like to spray mine down first so it's wet. So when everything lands on it, if there's someone walking by or somebody sneezes, it doesn't and go everywhere, the wetness will kind of collect. Again, it's a whole process, but it's worth it. You got to take care of your feet, okay? All right, so we're going all the way around the foot. We're scraping off just the dead skin. You're taking it down to a layer where you don't see the dead skin anymore, but you're not going so deep where you're going to hurt your feet, hurt your skin. How will you know? You'll probably go too deep the first time you do it, and then the next day your feet hurt a little bit. Like the skin itself actually hurts, because that means you went a little bit too deep. So in the beginning, when you're doing this, just go, I'm just gonna do a little bit, and do it on one day. And if the next day your feet don't hurt, you can do a little bit more. And eventually you'll kind of learn that when you keep on scraping and you see like, all right, all the white dead skin's kind of gone, then we're good to go, okay? And that's all you need. When that's all finished, wipe your feet off. You've checked everything else. You've checked in between your toes. You've worked in between your toenails. You've checked all of your cuticles. You've looked for cuts and anything that can get infected. You're looking good. You're clean. Then you're going to grab some type of lotion. I don't care what it is. This is the one that I like because it's not oily afterwards. There's zero after effect where when you're rubbing your hands around, you're like, it feels gross and it's all slimy. You're gonna put that on the feet and you're gonna massage your feet in a little bit. Now, by doing this, you're already getting it on your hands. So you may as well just continue the process, get around your hands, go in between the fingers. Now, and the fingers are different because you're gonna be opening and articulating your phalanges a lot. You don't have to worry about leaving moisture trapped in between your fingers because they're gonna be open and you're gonna be doing stuff. They will dry out just fine, okay? So you have lotioned your feet. You've lotioned all over around the tops, bottom of this. I would wait a couple of minutes, let things dry out, and then more than likely, you're gonna need a second coat, okay? And I know that's a little obnoxious. You're like, hey, I just did this, now I gotta lay around and let it dry up. More than likely, if this is a new routine that you're gonna start doing, this is something that you're gonna need to do 2 or 3 times in a night, right? Now, I do, again, this is a little bit of an obsession, okay? Not a fetish, a little bit of an obsession. I do this every single night. I'm literally seated and I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed now. The glasses are coming off. I'm ready to lay down. I take a pump. I rub both hands. I do both of my feet. And then I lay down and I go to sleep. And people are like, oh, your feet are the last thing. I literally just got out of the shower. They are just as clean as the rest of my body. Why? Because I use soap and I scrub my feet, okay? That's the whole idea. Again, don't just stand there. Scrub, 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 okay? Scrub, scrub, scrub. Lotion up the feet when you're done and you're good to go, man. Every day, you don't have to worry about taking your shoes and socks off and somebody going, oh, what happened to your feet, dude? Your feet just look nice and you're not gonna have any infections. We're not gonna get any issues. Hopefully everything will go good. You don't have any infections, which is not my favorite word, but that's, one of those things. I haven't liked that word since I was a kid. It's always irked me out. And anyhow, I don't want you to get an infection. So I want you to take care of your feet. Take care of your feet. Keep all your toes. Keep all your limbs. Keep all your digits. You need them. That's why you were given them in the very beginning, to take care of them. If you have any comments, any questions, any further up on this, please feel free to comment down below. I got you covered. And if you need any other information on health and fitness, head over to trainingtheolderadult.com. Please subscribe. Please like the video. Please ring the bell. Try to put up at least one new video every week. Sometimes I get on rolls and I get 4 or 5, and then we miss a week here and there. But there's always new content up at least every week for you to see something and learn something. And please feel free to share. Help us grow our community here at trainingtheolderadult.com. Much love to all of you. I appreciate you. Continue to fight the good fight against sarcopenia, people, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.